A group with no name, consisting of a guy that comes out to face music, but then acts as a heel. The crowd are singing his song, but then booing him, and says the exact same promo every single week. I have the briefcase. I have the power. This is the future. A guy in Paul Heyman that has never felt more irrelevant in his entire career, has never looked more out of place and more uncomfortable in his entire career, looked more comfortable and in place with Curtis Axel. A guy that gets pinned by Jey Uso, and a guy that just barks like an actual dog because they've worn that to the ground and made that cringe now. They've thought, oh, the barking thing does well, so let's turn him into an actual dog. Not what it was originally. How is a group consisting of all of that with no name ever going to succeed? It's not going to. It's boring. It doesn't work. It doesn't feel special. Seth Rollins aligned with Paul Heyman in the main event of, well, the B-Tech main event of WrestleMania. Paul Heyman betrayed CM Punk, and even bigger than that, betrayed Roman Reigns. Everything that Paul Heyman did with Roman Reigns for all those years at the top of the business, the top of the company, betrays him in the main event of WrestleMania to align with his biggest enemy, Seth Rollins. Sounds huge, right? That can only lead to huge storylines, surely. And then the Raw after Mania, they get Bron Breakker involved, and you're like, oh, we've got a little faction building here. I quite like it. Bron Breakker has a little bit of history with Paul Heyman. It makes sense. I don't mind this at all. And then they had Bronson Reed, and you think, okay, not as exciting as Bron Breakker, because by that point the faction had already become a bit stale. And then since then, it's just become even worse. It should have been a huge deal, but this company does not know how to book factions in 2025 at all, especially this one. What are they doing? They've got Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker, who we're supposed to believe are beasts, right? They'll dominate the entire division, the entire roster. They'll beat everyone up, no matter what. They're beasts, right? That's what we're supposed to believe in. And they're getting scared away by LA Knight just because he has a chair with him. And they're like, oh, that's too much for us. That's too much. He has a chair. We can't do that. Then you got Bronson Reed taking a clean pin to Jey Uso. I don't care that LA Knight just pushed Bronson off the top rope or whatever he did. I can't remember. A minor, very minor interference. And Bronson Reed is taking a clean pin to Jey Uso. Wow, what a beast. What a dominant heel beast, right? They've turned Bron Breakker into a parody caricature of himself. So like when they see something works and they just nail it into the ground over and over until it's cringe. Jey Uso, the yeet thing, started off fine. Quickly became very cringe when they started making it in his entire personality, his entire character, his entire gimmick. Everything he does is yeet. Of course that's going to become cringe, overdone, and just annoying. Bron Breakker, oh, people like the bark thing? Okay, let's nail it into the ground and just do it every single week. And everything he says, he doesn't even say words, he just barks like an actual dog. He never used to be like that. It was just part of it was part of him. It wasn't his entire personality, his entire character wasn't him barking. Now they've got him actually barking at people like an actual dog. Like an actual real animal, the dog. That's not what it was. They've made it cringe. You've got Paul Heyman, who has never felt more out of place, more irrelevant. Paul Heyman is usually with the top guy no matter what, right? You go back to Punk, mainly Brock, then Roman. Always at the top. Always involved in something fun, a big storyline, or even just something big, a big match. So if there's a The biggest thing in the company is usually involving Paul Heyman. Is usually with the top guy involved in the biggest storyline, the biggest moments, and the biggest matches because it's Paul Heyman. He aligns himself with the top guy. And he's never felt more irrelevant. He's got... This is how stupid this booking is, right, from Triple H. Listen to this, right? A few weeks ago, you might remember when this faction first became a thing. The first person that they interacted with was Sami Zayn. Okay. So they're out there telling Sami Zayn, if you don't leave to SmackDown, you're going to regret it. Okay? Okay. So then you have Paul Heyman tell Sami Zayn, if you go to SmackDown, if you leave Raw, if you go to SmackDown, I am in a position in this company, I have the power to get you a title match with John Cena. Okay? So he's telling you right there, he has the power to get anyone a title match. He can get Sami Zayn, a mid-carder, a title match against John Cena. That's what he's telling you. He's in that position in the company. So why can't he get Seth Rollins a title match? Why does Seth have to win the briefcase to get a title match? Why can't Paul Heyman get him a title match if he can get Sami Zayn one? Why can't he get Seth one? Why can't he get Bron Breakker one? Why can't he get Bronson Reed a title match? If he can get Sami Zayn one. That's what he's telling you. He has the power to get anyone a title match, but unless it's someone that he's aligned with, it doesn't make sense. Paul Heyman has never looked more bored, more irrelevant, more just out of place in his entire career. Paul Heyman. Everything that you could be doing with this guy, and you've got him. Realistically, he should have gone with Punk or Roman or just Bron Breakker. I would have took just Bron Breakker. He aligns with Bron Breakker. Because then at least you could tell the story that Paul Heyman usually aligns with the top guy, so he's going to make Bron Breakker that top guy, right? He's going to bring him up to that level. And you'd believe it. It makes sense. But in this faction, there's no need for Paul Heyman in this faction. There's no purpose for him to be there. There's no reason for him to be there. He doesn't get them big title matches. Seth has to put himself through a ladder match to get a briefcase to then get a chance of winning the title. So Paul Heyman can't get these title matches for some reason. He doesn't get any time on the mic because Seth Rollins can cut a promo, even though it's the same every week, but he can hold his own on the mic. He can cut a promo. There is no reason at all for Paul Heyman to be in this faction. There's no reason for him to be there. There's no reason for any of the faction. What is their purpose? What is their... Usually a faction, they have a purpose, right? They have a reason, like, oh, we're here to do this. This faction is just, we want to beat people up with a future, okay? Paul Heyman, there is absolutely no reason for him to be in this faction. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. He should have stayed with Roman or gone with Punk or anything, because this is the most irrelevant he has ever been in his entire career. There is no reason for him to be there. Then you got Seth, who just says the same thing every single week, holding a briefcase, which is just boring. That briefcase should have gone to LA Knight. Imagine how much fun we would be having right now if LA Knight won that briefcase. It'd be fun, it'd be exciting, it'd be new, it'd be fresh. Instead, you got Seth out there cutting the same promo every week. I have the power, I have the briefcase, I'm going to cash in on you, I'm going to cash in on you, and I'm going to be the world champion again. Every week. Paul Heyman's out there holding it when Seth Rollins isn't even out there, Paul Heyman's holding it. Weird. Seth Rollins, his entire career, it's been weird because he's never been the top main guy. There's always been someone else that's been above him, right? Every time they try to make him feel like the biggest, top star in the company, it doesn't really feel right. It doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. You could have him involved with the top people, right? Punk, Roman, Cena, Gunther at some point. and no one would bat an eyelid. It makes sense, it works, it's fun, right? But as soon as you try to make him the top guy, it just doesn't work. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't end well. Never has. I don't know. I like Seth. I really do like him. I'm a fan of him. I'm glad he won at WrestleMania. Aligning with Paul Heyman, I was skeptical, but then I was like, you know what? Let's give it a chance. This could work. This could be really fun. Hasn't ended up being fun. It's ended up being boring and bad. I like Seth. He's put the company on his back at times. Worn his body into the ground for the company. Done everything they've asked of him. Losing to Cody 3 times in a row. Was it 4? 3 or 4 times in a row to Cody. He's done everything they've asked of him. He's been a workhorse. I like him. But every time they've tried to make him feel like the top guy in the company, hasn't ended well at all. Also, the top guy in the company never has the briefcase. That's usually not how it goes. The briefcase goes to some young, up and coming talent. So the briefcase shouldn't be on him. And then you got Bronson Reed, who's just eating a pin to Jey Uso. This entire faction just has no purpose. Has there ever been a faction that hasn't had a name that has been a success? How hard is it to come up with a name? How hard is it to come up with a name for a faction? There's so many possibilities for names. This isn't a faction that's hard to come up with a name for. The Vision. There's one right there. The Vision. There's so many names you could come up with here. Is it that hard for Triple H to... Is it that difficult for him to find the one creative bone in his entire body and come up with a name? Is it that much effort to come up with a name for a faction that you're trying to build as a big deal? Right? You want this faction to feel like a huge deal in this company, one of the biggest things that's going on. And you can't even be bothered to think of a name for them. You can't be bothered to think of a name for them. How are we supposed to invest in it and take them serious? They don't have a name. It's stupid. The booking of it has been awful. It doesn't work. I don't care who else you add. If you add Ethan Page, it doesn't work. That's even less microphone time for Paul Heyman. It doesn't... You tried it. It's failed. Move on. Or if you're going to do this, make it fun. Make it creative. Have them involved in interesting storylines, moments, segments. Don't just have it the same thing every week. If you want us to invest in it, give us a reason to invest in it. Don't just give us the most generic promos every week and expect us to enjoy it. If you want us to enjoy it, give us things to enjoy. The faction has failed. And that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you think. And yeah, hopefully they'll book them better from now on. Really highly doubt it though.